My name's Liam and I'm a 35-year-old man. My mother-in-law, for whatever reason, didn't like me for a very long time. You could argue that it was because I was stealing her precious princess away from her, but she doesn't act that way with her other children and her other daughter-in-laws, sister-in-laws. I always suspected that she had a personal problem with me, which honestly to this day hasn't properly been confirmed with her. But I'm glad that I at the very least got some revenge for her stupid antics. Let me tell you the story. From the very beginning, Isabella, my mother-in-law, and I clashed like oil and water, like fire and ice, like pineapple on pizza. Don't argue with me. She had a knack for getting under my skin with her passive-aggressive comments and disapproving glances. Whether it was about my choice of career or my lack of culinary skills, Isabella never hesitated to let her opinion be known. This one time, she fought with me because of a rug. A stupid rug. Can you imagine? This is how the argument went. Liam, I can't believe you didn't get the rug I wanted for the living room. It's like you never listened to me. Isabella, this is my house and I should have the freedom to choose the furnishings. The rug I bought is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine? It's hideous. You have no taste. This is just another example of your incompetence. Enough, Isabella. I'm tired of you constantly belittling me and listing all my shortcomings. I work hard to provide for this family and I deserve some respect. Respect? Respect is earned, Liam, and you've done nothing to earn it. You're just so useless in so many ways. I can't have this conversation right now. Our conversations would normally go like this, with Isabella fighting me for something stupid and me leaving without engaging any further. That woman was sick. She definitely enjoyed seeing me angry, so I did my best to not give that to her. I genuinely believed that she had some sort of mental problem because the way she behaved was crazy. I often turned to my wife, Harper, seeking solace and understanding. Harper and I were a team facing the world together, but when it came to her mother, she often felt caught in the middle, torn between her loyalty to me and the ties of blood. She would listen to my grievances and offer comforting words, but deep down, we both knew that Isabella's ways were detrimental. One day, Harper approached me and said, Liam, I have some exciting news. I've been thinking about your situation with Mom, and I believe I found a way to improve your relationship dynamic with her. Really? I wasn't expecting any surprises. What do you have in mind? I've planned a family vacation for all of us. I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to spend time together in a fun and lively environment, away from the daily stress and tension, and maybe you two could work on your relationship. Harper, I appreciate your efforts, but do you think a vacation can really fix things? My relationship with Isabella is so strained. She hates me. She doesn't hate you, babe, but I understand your concerns. It's a chance for us to reconnect, create positive memories, and find some common ground. Plus, Mom seemed genuinely excited about the idea when I mentioned it to her. Isabella was actually enthusiastic about a family vacation? That's unexpected. Yes, I was just as surprised as you are. Maybe this is an opportunity for a fresh start. We can focus on enjoying ourselves and work on building a bond between you two. I guess it's worth a try. If it means a chance to improve our relationship, then I'm willing to give it a shot. That's the spirit, Liam. I believe this vacation can bring us closer together. We'll make it a memorable experience for everyone. I was a little bit giddy. I enjoyed vacations, but I was also obviously worried that things wouldn't even work out because Isabella was just hell-bent on making me angry. But I did say that I would try, so that's what I had to do. Slowly but surely, however, my hesitation grew into full-blown doubts. She was enthusiastic, making suggestions and even offering to help with the planning. This sudden change of heart set off alarm bells in my head. Isabella had never shown such eagerness before, and it made me suspicious. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something fishy was going on. Nonetheless, I kept my suspicions to myself. If I'm being honest, I think that I felt quite guilty for holding on to these suspicions. I didn't want to bring these negative vibes on our trip, and I didn't want Harper to be angry with me for being suspicious. So I kept it to myself. But surely enough, call it intuition or good luck, I found out the truth and I was right. But let me not get ahead of myself. Amidst the uncertainty, Harper and I prepared for the trip, hoping that the change of scenery would bring about some much-needed tranquility. A week had gone by and our trip was rapidly approaching. We packed our bags, double-checked our passports, and eagerly anticipated the adventure ahead. Now, it's worth mentioning that regarding the passports, I also had a gut feeling that something awful was going to happen. Because later on that evening, Isabella called. Harper wasn't in the room at that time, so I answered the phone for her. "Hey, love, make sure that your passports are left on the table tomorrow." Hey, Harper stepped out for a moment. "What's up?" "Liam, I was expecting Harper. Well, anyway, I just wanted to remind you both to leave your passports on the table so that we don't forget them." "Why?" "The trip isn't for another 3 days, approximately at least. Leaving them out on the table so soon can be problematic. I think it's better if we keep the passports in our bags for now." Harper enters the room, sensing tension in the conversation. "What's going on, Liam?" "It was your mother calling, and I just thought I should answer. Isabella was reminding us to leave the passports out, but I suggested keeping them in our bags instead. Leaving them out on the table might not be the safest idea. We could accidentally knock them over or forget them altogether." "Yeah, that sounds like a better plan, Liam. We don't want to risk losing them or causing unnecessary trouble." Isabella, clearly frustrated by our responses, finally said this. "Fine, I need the passports out, especially your passport, Liam. You're so useless, I'm sure you'll forget it, if it's not right in front of you." "Why did you need my passport specifically? And why would you say that?" "Well, it's because you're always so absent-minded and irresponsible. I can't trust you to remember anything important, so it's better if you just leave them out." "Isabella, that's not fair. I've been responsible and capable of taking care of my things." "Okay, let's take a step back. We all want this trip to go smoothly, and we don't need any unnecessary arguments. Mom, we appreciate your concern, but I agree with Liam that it's safer to keep the passports in our bags for now." "If you don't leave your passports out tomorrow, then I'm not going on this trip." Both Harper and I shared a look of bewilderment. How could she resort to something so unnecessarily stupid? I was done with the conversation, and I wasn't about to enable Isabella by nagging her and forcing her to come. Harper, being the sweeter one between us, decided to do exactly that. The call ended with Harper agreeing to leave out the passports as instructed, and I was upset that Harper complied so easily. You know, the reason why she's always getting angry over stupid things is because she knows that you'll always take her side. That's not true, Liam. I don't always take her side. I just try to avoid unnecessary conflicts with her. You know how she can be. But Harper, it's like she's controlling everything. She manipulates situations and expects us to bend to her will. We can't keep letting her dictate our lives. It's not that simple, Liam. Confronting my mother is extremely difficult for me. She's been like this all her life, and I've learned to navigate around her outbursts. It's easier to comply than to challenge her. I understand, Harper. I'm sorry for everything you have to go through. But there needs to be a point where enough is enough. We can't keep sacrificing our happiness for her satisfaction. I just want to have a good time on this vacation, Liam. I don't want tension or arguments ruining it. For now, let's just do as she says and hope for the best. We can deal with the consequences later. Fine, Harper. If that's what you want, then I'll go along with it. But I hope you realize that we can't keep enabling her behavior forever. Harper and I argued back and forth about this. It was hard to admit at the time, but this strenuous relationship I had with my mother-in-law was seriously killing my relationship with Harper. It was annoying to constantly bicker about her mother. Instead of arguing about normal marriage things like finances, forgetting to take out the trash, or not doing laundry, we would argue about Isabella. And it was getting out of hand at this point. We were arguing about this well into the morning. Maybe we should just cancel the trip, Harper. It doesn't seem like Isabella wants us to have a good time. Liam, the trip is in just 2 days. We've planned this for a long time, and I won't let her ruin it for us. We're going on that vacation, and we're going to enjoy ourselves. We both shared a moment of understanding, acknowledging the difficult position we were in. Even though I was reluctant, I agreed to comply with Isabella's demands for the sake of a peaceful vacation. Deep down, I knew that this temporary concession was not a long-term solution, but I hoped that the trip will provide an opportunity for us to properly reconnect and find strength together, as was the original intention of the trip. The next day arrived, and I was going about my day at work, trying to focus on my tasks and push aside the tension caused by Isabella's constant presence in our lives. Everything seemed to be going smoothly until I received a FaceTime request from her. I hesitated for a moment, contemplating whether to answer or not, but curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to see what she wanted. As I answered the call, my heart skipped a beat when I saw Isabella's face twisted into a malicious expression I had never witnessed before. It sent a chill down my spine, and I couldn't help but brace myself for whatever was about to unfold. Well, if it isn't Liam. I'm actually surprised that you answered my call. Honestly, I could say the same. What do you want, Isabella? Oh, nothing much. Just thought I'd share some of my thoughts with you. I'm listening. I hate you, Liam. I've always hated you. You're a worthless excuse for a man, and I can't stand to see you succeed. This isn't news, Isabella, but one thing I want to know is why. What did I ever do to you? I can't bear the thought of you being happy with her. You two, always laughing and enjoying yourselves. What is there to enjoy? You don't want to see your own daughter happy? What a pathetic excuse for a mother. Me, pathetic? I'm just trying to protect my daughter. You make her believe that there aren't any problems in this world. She's too jovial and naive. You're making her dumb and clueless, just like you. That literally doesn't make any sense, Isabella. You've always tried to undermine me with the way that you speak to me. Anyone can see that you're obviously obsessed with me. Isabella's face turned from malice to embarrassment. It was like I caught her in something. She wasn't expecting me to say that, and she subsequently blushed at my words. Wait, you're not obsessed with me, are you? Well, I don't know what you mean. What are you trying to say? Oh my God, Isabella. Do you have feelings for me? What? Are you crazy? That's crazy. Why would I have feelings for you? You of all people. Don't be ridiculous. I don't even think about you. Well then, why are you so obsessed with grinding me down? It's like you're a little schoolgirl and you have a crush on me. You remember how it was back then? If someone used to like you, they'd treat you like crap. This honestly has the same vibes. If I'm lying, then tell me, because I just don't understand why you hate me so much. Well, you see, the thing is, that's disgusting, Isabella. How could you have feelings for your sister-in-law? Well, what I was going to say before you cut me off is that I don't have feelings for you. So you can just shut up. Then why can't you stand the thought of Harper and I being together? Why don't you want us to be happy? Just shut up. Don't speak. I came here to do one thing, and after your preposterous allegations, I'm going to go ahead and do it with extra pride. As Isabella was speaking, I noticed her bringing up a passport to the camera's view. I was surprised to see the flickering flame of a lighter in her other hand. She sensed my confusion and began to smile, that devilish smile she donned at the beginning of the call. And then she set the passport on fire. She began to laugh, but I didn't say anything. I just looked at her sternly with disgust and disappointment. She reveled in her malicious laughter, relishing in the destruction she had caused. You see, Liam, I hate you so much that I was willing to burn your passport into ashes. You will not go on this trip. You should just think of divorcing my daughter and moving to find someone else. What? Someone like you? I never said. I don't like you, damn it. I'm certainly not obsessed with you. You're just delusional. Right. Well, okay. Why aren't you enraged right now? Didn't you see what I just did? I just burnt your passport, you fool. Yes, I did see what you did. But you got one thing wrong, though. That's not my passport. What? As she was exclaiming in shock and disbelief, I pulled out my passport from my laptop bag and showed her that I had it in my possession. Yep, got my passport right here. It turns out that when you tell people that they're useless and that they always forget things, they begin to be a bit more conscientious of their belongings. I thought it best to keep my passport with me because I could tell that you were up to something. But I told you to keep your passports out. That's why I'm at your place. Well, I'm sorry that I didn't fall for your vindictive plan, Isabella. I mean, what is wrong with you? Why would you even do something like that? Then whose passport did I burn? There's Isabella's here. Yours was meant to be here. Well, it's funny you asked that because, if you recall, you left your passport here 2 weeks ago when you got back from Canada. I'm guessing that you thought you had it in your possession all this time? I laughed as I watched Isabella's face twist from anger to shock, and then to embarrassment as she slowly realized that the passport that she burnt was her own. You made me do this! Sweetie, I didn't make you do anything. You're the one who wanted the passports to be out. I took out all 3 and left them on the table in the foyer just like you asked. But I knew that you had to be up to something, so I decided to keep mine with me. Honestly, you should blame yourself. Why didn't you open the passport and check the names? I did. I checked the first passport and it was Harper's. Then I didn't think that I needed to check the second one since I thought it was yours, and I had forgotten that I left my passport at your house. Isabella began to whine about how all of this wasn't fair, but just like in the movies, she was yet another stupid villain with a stupid plan that went all wrong. She was hoisted by her own petard, as all the fancy people say, and I was enjoying the show. As she continued to cry and shout at me, I said, "You underestimated me, Isabella. I won't let you ruin my life or my relationship with Harper. Your reign of terror ends here." "You think you've won? This is far from over, Liam. I will find a way to tear you two apart." "Well, good luck with that. It seems that while you're continuing to concoct your evil plan, my wife and I will be enjoying a well-deserved vacation. We're going to have a blast." "You won't have fun. Why do you two get to have fun? It's not fair. This wasn't supposed to happen." I continued to laugh at her in her silly state of confusion and anguish, and I eventually cut the call because I was tired of the drama and I was sufficiently satisfied with how things turned out since she was the one who brought herself to her own demise. I could tell that even after the call had ended, she was furious with herself for being so foolish. I went to the security guy at my job and asked him if he could give me the camera and audio footage of my office from the past hour, even though it was against company policy. He hesitated, but after briefly explaining the situation, and upon reviewing what was recorded in my office himself, he gave me the footage as a favor. I'm guessing he understood that this was too important and that the truth had to be revealed. With the physical evidence of Isabella's deceit in hand, I went home and revealed everything to my wife. And by the end of everything, she was trembling with rage. Is this a bad time to say I told you that your mom was crazy? Don't test me, Liam. I'm beyond pissed. Does she really have some sort of crush on you? That's horrible. I genuinely believe so. I mean, why else would she act that way? That's why she's been so evil to me. I'm guessing she was trying to suppress her feelings, and her burning my passport would mean that I wouldn't go on the trip, and she wouldn't have to witness us being so lovey-dovey to each other. Oh my God, I don't even know what to say at this point. And the fact that I let her in today, none the wiser? She must have called you and burnt the passport while I was out getting her medication so that I wouldn't suspect anything. Well, her plan almost worked, had she just paid better attention to what she was doing. Both Harper and I laughed bitterly at the drama that was before us. Harper called her mother and with some very colorful language berated her for her stupidity. Isabella tried to deny everything, which made Harper more enraged as she revealed the footage that I had gotten from work. Isabella, for the millionth time that day, was too stunned and embarrassed to articulate a coherent response, signifying that she had, yet again, been caught in a lie. They went back and forth, with Isabella trying to lie and Harper berating her each time and presenting her with her inconsistencies. Harper ended the call with her mother very bitterly, vowing not to speak to her ever again. Harper and I went on vacation. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't the greatest experience considering just 2 days prior we got some really shocking and disturbing news. My wife, unfortunately, felt like an idiot for not seeing through her mother all this time, but I tried my best to make my wife laugh by reminding her that her mother was the stupid one for burning her own passport. Although the vacation trip wasn't a 10 out of 10, it certainly wasn't a waste because we did genuinely enjoy ourselves. I distanced myself from Isabella, considering her weird feelings about me, and Harper wasn't answering any calls, texts, or emails from her, staying true to her promise to never speak to her again. Isabella then tried to get other family members involved in this by saying we're bad kids for not listening to her and what she has to say. She's just lucky that we haven't released the footage to the other family members just yet. So for now, it's her word against ours. But Harper and I are seriously considering showing the other family members the information we uncovered. What do you guys think? Should we keep this matter private, or should we expose Isabella to everyone? I'm Harley, I'm 34 years old, and I'm a feisty and independent woman. Let me tell you about the roller coaster ride that was my relationship with my husband, Dominic. Buckle up, folks, it's going to be a bumpy one. Dominic and I had our fair share of ups and downs, as most couples do. While I loved him with all my heart, there was one major obstacle in our path to happiness: his overbearing and judgmental mother, Charlotte. That woman had a flair for putting me down at every turn. No matter what I did, it was never good enough for her. Whenever we had family gatherings, Charlotte would make snide comments about my cooking, criticizing every dish as if she were a Michelin-starred chef herself. She'd scoff at the flavors, pick apart the presentation, and compare my culinary skills unfavorably to her own. It was as if she wanted to show the world that I was inadequate, unworthy of her son's love. But it wasn't just about my cooking. Charlotte had a talent for undermining my achievements too. Once, at a dinner party, I proudly shared news of a promotion at work, hoping for a word of congratulations. Instead, she brushed it off with a wave of her hand, dismissing it as insignificant compared to the accomplishments of her friends' children. I felt small, invisible in her eyes. And don't even get me started on our wedding. While it should have been a joyful celebration, Charlotte made it her mission to criticize every decision she made, from the choice of venue to the color scheme of the decorations. Nothing was good enough for her discriminating taste. I watched as she whispered her disapproval to anyone who would listen, tarnishing what should have been the happiest day of my life. Now, you'd think my loving husband would come to my defense, right? Well, think again. Dominic, bless his soul, had this bizarre blind spot when it came to his mother. He just couldn't see the way she belittled me, dismissed my accomplishments, and made me feel like I wasn't worthy of his love. It tore me apart. To make matters worse, my father-in-law, Caleb, was the only one who seemed to understand and challenge his wife's toxic behavior. He wasn't afraid to put her in her place, but I longed for Dominic to be the one to stand up for me. After all, I was his wife, his partner, and I deserved his unwavering support. But time and time again, I found myself disappointed. Dominic remained silent, allowing his mother's words to cut me like 1,000 paper cuts. It was a constant battle between my desire for his love and my frustration at his inaction. It wasn't just about defending me against Charlotte's snide remarks. It was about fighting for our love and showing me that I mattered. I yearned for him to see through his mother's manipulations and prioritize our relationship above all else. But it seemed like he was caught in a tangled web of family dynamics, unable to break free. As days turned into months and months into years, resentment started to build within me. I felt neglected, unappreciated, and trapped in a relationship where my needs were constantly brushed aside. It was a toxic cycle that needed to be broken. The beginning of the end was just around the corner. It all started when Dominic casually dropped a bombshell that he had to go on a business trip to Tampa for a week. Another business trip? Seriously, Dominic? It's an important meeting that couldn't be postponed, babe. But you just got back from one. Can't someone else handle it? And why Tampa all of a sudden? You see, he had just returned a few days ago from a different business trip, so this sudden impromptu excursion raised my eyebrows. I tried to express my concerns to him, hoping he'd ease my worries, but Dominic's response only added fuel to the fire. He was evasive, offering vague explanations that did little to reassure me, but I let it go, albeit reluctantly, trusting that my fears were unfounded. You know how it is. Things just come up unexpectedly. It's just business. Yeah, just business, okay. Regardless of my suspicions, I didn't question it too much, and off he went on this business meeting. Days 1 to 3 of Dominic's supposed business trip rolled by, and my suspicions only grew stronger. I decided to FaceTime him, as I often did when he was away, but to my dismay, Dominic seemed to opt for audio calls instead. Hey babe, can we video chat tonight? Sorry sweetheart, the hotel Wi-Fi is acting up, so audio calls are more reliable for now, but don't worry, everything's fine. Wi-Fi issues? Really? It's just too convenient, don't you think? Babe, don't worry about it. But I did worry about it. Sometimes I would hear a woman in the background, and the doubts swirled within me, intensifying my unease. I couldn't shake the feeling that Dominic was hiding something, that there was a hidden agenda behind this supposed business trip. The foundation of trust we once had begun to crumble, replaced by an unsettling uncertainty that cast a shadow over our relationship. Even with these doubts, I kept silent, and I just accepted his excuses for those 3 days. I couldn't believe it. 3 days had passed and I still hadn't seen Dominic. In addition to not doing the FaceTimes, he would also cut our audio calls shorter and shorter. I had to get to the bottom of everything. I tried to FaceTime him on the 4th day, hoping to get some answers, but what I saw on the screen left me speechless. Instead of Dominic's face, it was Charlotte who answered the call. There she was, sitting in a beach chair with sunglasses on and a noticeable tan. This news hit me like a ton of bricks. Charlotte, what are you doing there? Where's Dominic? She smirked, seemingly pleased with herself. Oh, Harley, dear, you didn't think he was on a business trip, did you? Honestly, though, I can say that he had to go to these lengths to keep the truth from you. But I guess that just shows how overbearing you can be. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dominic had been lying to me. And his mother was right there basking in the sun while I was left in the dark. Anger started to boil within me as I realized the depth of their deception. So you're saying that the both of you planned the secret vacation without me? Well, yes. Why? Because I wanted to visit my hometown and I wanted to do it with my son. Is that so wrong? Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you want me to come? Because this is a special trip for me and my son only. Okay, but I'm his wife. I should have been there. And this could have been an opportunity for you and me to squash whatever issue you seem to have with me. I'm also in need of a vacation. Well, you didn't get one. Sorry, not sorry. I'm going to ignore your childishness for 1 second to say that even if you really wanted this special trip without me, that would have also been fine. I'm an adult. You can tell me if I'm not invited to something. I promise you I can handle it. What I'm saying is, even if you two wanted to go alone, that wouldn't have been an issue. Let me just tell it to you straight. We kept it a secret from you because we didn't want you to know. Simple. We didn't care about whether or not you wanted to come or whether or not you would have been okay with us going. We just didn't want you to know. But your incessant calling is peeving me, so I just thought that I'd rip off the Band-Aid and tell you. Are you being serious, Charlotte? What exactly is wrong with you? Has all that sun fried your brain cells? How pathetic of you to insult me like that. You're taking this way too far. You're being such a drama queen. I'm not being a drama queen. I have every right to be upset, especially after all these years of dealing with your crap. Charlotte shrugged, feigning innocence. Oh, Harley dear, sometimes it's best not to know everything your husband does. It was just a little secret getaway just for us, something special. You wouldn't understand the type of bond we have. I felt a mixture of emotions surge through me, betrayal, anger, and sadness. It was clear that they had planned this together, leaving me out of the loop and feeling utterly deceived. As the realization sunk in, I couldn't help but wonder what else they had lied about. How long had these secret trips been going on? Why did they feel so strongly about not telling me, and what other secrets were they hiding from me? The trust I had once placed in Dominic was crumbling, and I was brought out of my realization when I heard his voice in the background approaching further and further. Mom, what the hell are you doing? Why did you answer the phone? It's about time Harley found out the truth. It's been 4 days. Dominic snatched the phone from his mother's grasp, his face turning pale as he realized the gravity of the situation. He stared at the screen, clearly aware that he was caught in a web of deceit. How could you lie about the business trip, Dominic? And the past 3 days? The Wi-Fi was perfectly fine, wasn't it? I didn't want you to be upset with me. Well, yeah, I have every right to be upset. I just felt like you'd be jealous. Is it weird that you want to hang out with your mom more than with me? Yeah, sure. But honestly, Dominic, with the way that you haven't been standing up for me, I've been feeling distant from you already. If you needed your stupid, special mommy-son time, you could have said that. Even if I was going to be a bit upset about not being invited, it's better than what I'm feeling now. The anger bubbled within me as Dominic continued with his feeble excuse. It was clear that he had underestimated the consequences of his actions. I couldn't hold back my frustration any longer. Dominic, even though I don't truly understand why I wasn't invited, I want you to know that I wouldn't have been upset with you if you had been honest with me from the beginning. It's not about the trip itself. It's about the fact that you felt the need to hide it. That's what's weird to me. I mean, I thought that you were cheating on me, for God's sake. What? Never. Yeah, well, when I've been hearing female voices in the background of the phone calls for the past couple of days, I began to wonder. Well, as I mentioned, I have a very special bond with my mother. Sometimes we just need to get away from everything, you know. And to Tampa, of all places? Don't you both hate Tampa? What about Gertrude? We're not going to visit her. Wow, so this secret was just between the two of you? What about your father? Does he know about this? Wow, I can't talk to you right now. I hope this trip was worth it, because when you come back, I'm not sure you'll still find a wife in your home. Harley, don't be like that. Wait, please. But I didn't wait. I hung up the phone and proceeded to decline all of his upcoming calls. I was pacing in my room. What reason would he have to hide such a simple thing from me? One thing about me, when you lie about the seemingly small things, I wonder what big things are you hiding from me? It was so weird to find him hanging out with his mom on this secret excursion, though. Honestly, I would have preferred if he was cheating on me. I was so frustrated with my weird and inactive husband and his equally weird and abrasive mother, I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to confide in someone who would understand the gravity of the situation. I picked up my phone and dialed my father-in-law's number, hoping he would be able to provide some clarity and support. Hey, it's Harley. I need to talk to you about something important. I began pouring my heart out about the deception that had consumed my marriage. I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. I revealed every detail of Dominic's lies, from his fabricated business trip to his desperate attempts to keep me in the dark. The pain of his betrayal cut deep, but what stung even more was Charlotte's role in all of this. I recounted how she reveled in my ignorance, relishing the power she held over me. The weight of their deceit was suffocating, and as I spoke, I could see the disbelief and hurt etched in Caleb's responses. Caleb's voice turned grave, matching the weight of my revelation. What? I had no idea about any of this. I'm so sorry I had to be the one to tell you about all this. I called you immediately after finding out. Charlotte told me she was going to Tampa to visit her mother and mend their broken relationship. I thought she was being sincere. Well, that's funny because Dominic just admitted that they weren't planning to visit Gertrude at all. And Gertrude has no idea about their supposed visit. Caleb's shock and hurt was palpable through the phone line. It was becoming clearer that Charlotte had been orchestrating a web of lies, manipulating everyone involved. We sympathized with each other, considering both our partners hurt us so deeply. We began to speculate about other suspicious occasions where they would just up and leave, and all the puzzle pieces seemed to be falling into place. I can't believe Charlotte would stoop so low. It's one thing to have disagreements, but to deceive her own family like this? It's unforgivable. They both need to learn a lesson. I agree. I have a suggestion. They're in Tampa, right? And they seem to be avoiding Gertrude. What if you call her and let her know that her beloved daughter and grandson are visiting? You know what? That's genius. I'm so angry right now. I'll do anything to teach those two about lying to us. After concluding the phone call with words of encouragement and excitability for what was about to ensue, I waited patiently to hear back from Caleb about his mother-in-law's reaction after finding out that her kid and her grandson came to visit her. A couple of hours went by, and Caleb told me the good news. After Caleb's phone call to Gertrude, the gravity of the situation became even more apparent. Caleb's voice trembled with a mix of anger and sadness as he described the conversation he had with Gertrude. I told her everything, Harley. She was furious, devastated even. She couldn't believe her own daughter would deceive everyone like this. She deserves to know the truth, Caleb. Charlotte has been acting horrible to us all for far too long. Gertrude has decided to take matters into her own hands, Harley. She's planning to teach Charlotte a lesson she won't forget. She's tired of Charlotte's behavior and wants to show her the real meaning of rudeness. This might not be my place, but what exactly is the issue between Charlotte and Gertrude? Well, Harley, I'm sure you'd find it ironic, but Charlotte always told me that her mother was very rude and cruel to her. And when Charlotte ran away at 16, they've had a rocky relationship ever since, being in and out of touch for years. It's very toxic. But after chatting with Gertrude for the past hour, I'm inclined to believe that Charlotte was the problem all along. It's crazy. I've been married to Shah for all these years, and you and Dom have only been married for 3, yet they've managed to uncover more family secrets in this short amount of time. I should have been more inquisitive. I should have fought more. How could you have known, Caleb? Don't beat yourself up about it, please. You were just being a good husband, sticking by whatever your wife told you. And you fought more than your son has. That counts for something. Thanks, Harley, for everything. I'm glad that I could help. Unfortunately, things have come to this, though. Yeah, I guess it is. But I'm just waiting for Gertrude to show them how nasty she can get. The next day arrived, and the repercussions of our revelations began to unfold. Dominic, unable to comprehend the consequences of his actions, called me in frustration, his words laced with irritation. Harley, what did you do? What do you mean? Don't play coy with me. Gertrude is here, and nobody else knows that we are here except you. Gertrude revealed that she came to us because she heard we were in town. I'm glad she knows the truth. Everyone deserves to know after all your shadiness. How could you do this, Harley? In the background, after hearing some inaudible commotion from two female voices, one sounding much older than the other, I correctly assumed that was Gertrude unleashing her righteous anger. Dominic, maybe it's time Charlotte gets a taste of what she's been dishing out all these years. It's about time she experiences the consequences of her deception. Suddenly, I heard this. You ungrateful little wretch! How dare you expose us like this? I couldn't help but chuckle softly, a touch of bitterness coloring my laughter, but before I could respond, I heard, Don't you dare speak to that young lady that way. I've had it with you and your insolence. You've been telling everyone how rude and nasty I was to you, huh? When all I did was care for you and help you out of trouble. You were such a problem child, lying about everything and being nasty to everyone. And I see that lifestyle has followed you into adulthood. We haven't properly seen or talked to each other ever since you left, and this is how you want to act? Do you think I'm rude and nasty? Just wait, I'll show you rude and nasty. I heard things break. It sounded like a glass or a vase, and I was a bit fearful as the shouting continued. I couldn't imagine how scared Dominic was, but I quickly realized that this is what he deserved. As much as he was her child, and was probably brainwashed from birth, he was a grown adult, and he was part of these choices. I was done making excuses for both of them. They were getting their justice, and I was glad that I was here to hear it. A couple more days of chaos ensued, with Dom asking me to forgive him because his grandmother was driving him crazy. I kept on reminding him that this was his fault, and each time he'd call, Charlotte and Gertrude were arguing back and forth. Honestly, I was surprised they didn't get kicked out of the hotel they were staying in. To make matters worse, when their 7-day excursion had come to an end, Dom revealed something even more shocking. Harley, please, you have to talk to Gertrude. I tried talking to Dad, but he's still mad at my mom and me. Slow down, what's going on? You two are meant to be coming back, right? I think you've learned your lesson. Well, Gertrude doesn't think so. She's going to board the plane with us. What? Yep. She says she wants to follow us home and make sure my mom starts acting like a respectable adult and not some crazed teenager. Wow, bet you weren't expecting that, huh? Maybe next time you'll stand up for what's right and not participate in your mother's schemes. See you when you get here. Harley, I regret everything. Haven't you tortured us enough? Please talk to Gertrude and tell her that she doesn't have to come with us. I don't think so, sweetie. Who am I to argue with that woman? She's terrifying. How do you think we feel? Honestly, Dom, I don't care how you feel. You've been lying to me for God knows how long, and you never stood up for me when your mom treated me like crap. You're getting your karma. Don't be mad at me. Now have a safe flight. Well, a safer flight you can have with these two ladies being with each other. As I hung up the phone, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. Finally, the tables had turned, and I had taken a stand against the toxicity that had consumed our lives for far too long. Gertrude, the unexpected ally, had unleashed her own brand of justice, and I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of excitement. I now wait for their return, anticipating the stories from Gertrude, as I'm sure that she continued to make their lives a living hell on that flight. Revenge never tasted so sweet. Hi there, my name's Felicity and I'm 37 years old. Let me tell you all about an experience I had and how I dealt with it swiftly, because I'm not the type of person to get played. Unlike most of the stories I come across on this place, I actually had a decent relationship with my mother-in-law before things came crashing down. Yep, shocking, I know. Things were always great between us. Our relationship was as smooth as silk. Our relationship was filled with warmth, affection, and mutual respect. And as for my husband, Frank, well, he was the love of my life, my partner in crime, and my best friend. Everything appeared to be picture perfect in my eyes, at least. And this isn't me being a delusional or missing any red flags. Sure, we'd have our arguments here and there like any other normal family, but in the end, all was well. And there was no indication that there was an issue of any kind. So I'm sure you can imagine just how shocked I was when this crazy story took place. Maybe someone can help me decipher what exactly the problem was, because to this day, I truly don't know. Let me tell you what went down and why I decided to take revenge on my husband and my mother-in-law for the stunt they pulled on me. You see, I had planned something special for our family. It was originally meant to be a vacation for me and my husband, but I thought about Tiana and how she'd been widowed for quite some time now, 4 years, and how lonely she must have been. I said, why not? And decided to include her in the vacation plans. This would be a trip that I mainly sponsored, with me covering the accommodation, meals and activities, and my husband and Tiana paying for whatever else they saw fit. But essentially, I was covering everything. I wanted to treat Tiana and Frank to a once-in-a-lifetime vacation in Spain. Oh, the thought of strolling through the vibrant streets of Barcelona, indulging in mouth-watering tapas and basking in the Mediterranean sunshine filled my heart with joy. I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to create lasting memories and deepen the bond between us. And when I presented them with the idea, they thought so too. I meticulously planned every detail of the trip, from the charming boutique hotel overlooking the stunning coastline to the exhilarating flamenco dance performance we would attend together. The excitement was palpable, and I couldn't wait to surprise Tiana and Frank with this grand adventure. Little did I know that the events that awaited me would shake the very foundation of my trust and shatter the illusion of our perfect little bubble. I was about to embark on a journey that would forever change my perception of family, loyalty, and the depths of human deception. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, my dear readers. Allow me to take you back to that fateful day, the day our dreams of Spain were still brimming with hope and promise. I stood in the living room clutching the plane tickets tightly in my hands, a smile stretching across my face. Frank, Tiana, gather round. I have a surprise for both of you. They exchanged puzzled glances, curiosity etched on their faces. Tiana, with her wise eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom, tilted her head ever so slightly. What's all this excitement about, my dear? With a flourish, I revealed the tickets and shared my plans for the Spanish adventure that awaited us. I watched their expressions closely, hoping to see joy and gratitude reflected in their eyes. Frank's face lit up, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. Felicity, you truly are something else. I can't wait for this incredible trip. Tiana, on the other hand, wore a softer smile, her gaze meeting mine. Oh, my sweet Felicity, you've truly outdone yourself. This is a gift beyond measure. I'm deeply touched. At that moment, my heart swelled with pride and contentment. Their reactions validated the love and effort I had poured into this surprise. I had thought that this vacation would be the glue that bound us even tighter, that it would create unforgettable memories and strengthen the ties that already seemed unbreakable. But, as you might have already suspected, this tale takes a treacherous turn. Beneath the surface of our seemingly idyllic relationship, an intricate net of deceit and betrayal lay in wait, ready to ensnare us all. And when the truth unraveled, it would test the limits of forgiveness and challenge the very essence of family bonds. As planned, we boarded the plane and set off for our 2-week adventure. The anticipation was palpable as we immersed ourselves in the vibrant streets and rich tapestry of Spanish culture. For the first week, everything seemed to be going according to plan. We savored the flavors of paella, wandering through historic landmarks, and danced the night away to the infectious rhythms of flamenco. Laughter and joy filled the air, and I basked in the belief that our bond was unbreakable. However, little did I know that a storm was brewing on the horizon, waiting to unleash its fury upon my unsuspecting heart. It was on a fateful Monday morning, and as the sun bathed the city in its golden hues, that I woke up to find an empty hotel room. Confusion and a growing sense of unease gripped my heart. Frantically, I reached for the phone, dialing both my husband's and Tiana's numbers, hoping for an explanation. I mean, it was crazy. They just poofed into thin air. But to my dismay, their phones remained silent, their voices absent. Fear began to claw at the edges of my mind as I searched for the empty room for any sign of their presence. There were no notes, no bags, no traces of disturbances or struggle, just an unsettling silence that hung heavy in the air. It looked like I had booked this family unit all to myself. As the minutes turned into an eternity, questions flooded my mind. Had they lost their way? Had they been taken against their will? But the absence of any evidence ruled out these possibilities. A chill ran down my spine as I reluctantly accepted the truth. I was left alone in a foreign land. Just as despair threatened to consume me, a glimmer of hope pierced through the darkness. My phone buzzed, signaling an incoming call. It was Tiana. Relief washed over me, mingled with confusion and a deep sense of hurt. How could she leave without a word? With trepidation, I answered the call, my voice filled with a mix of concern and disbelief. Tiana, where are you? What happened? Tiana's voice, tinged with a strange mix of resignation and frustration, reached my ears, but she didn't sound like the same old sweet lady that I always loved. No, her voice sounded a bit colder. Felicity, I thought that I should at least call you back since you were blowing up my phone with your incessant calls. Oh, I'm sorry for disturbing you. I was just wondering where you two went. Your bags aren't here. I was just concerned that something bad had happened. Then she said these next words with so much indifference that they shook me to the core. We left you. But why? What happened? I'm sorry, I couldn't bear to spend another week in your company, so I had to leave. What are you talking about? Did I do something wrong? Yes, I mean, how could you be so dense? Dense? Excuse me? You sprung up this trip on me, practically forcing me to go with you, and I just couldn't remain disingenuous any longer. Let me spell it out clearly for you, Felicity. I don't enjoy your company. Sure, we can spend a couple of hours together at a family event, but 2 weeks? I tried to be civil and grace you with my presence for as long as I could, and it turns out that I could only muster 1 week with you before I lost my mind. I'm sorry, but I'm on the way to the airport with Frank right now. We can't be around you any longer. Shock reverberated through my core. The revelation struck me like a bolt of lightning, unraveling the threads of trust I had so naively woven. How could our bond, seemingly unbreakable, crumble beneath the weight of unspoken grievances? Questions flooded my mind as I grappled with this harsh reality. What had I done wrong? What exactly did I do to deserve such harshness? How did things escalate to this point? Was there no chance for reconciliation? Confusion and heartache intertwined within me, the pain of betrayal seeping deep into my soul. Well, I didn't know that you felt this way, Tiana, honestly. And you had no reason to. I always led you to assume that things were fine and dandy between us. Then why not bring that up? Why not sit me down so that we could hash out whatever problem there was between us? Because if I'm being honest, I still don't know what I've done to wrong you. Well, that's the thing. I just can't put my finger on it, but you just irk me. What? That's the most childish thing I've ever heard. You can't stand me just because of an inexplicable irk? Grow up, Tiana. I thought I offended you or something, but I didn't do anything wrong, right? Well, not necessarily, but it doesn't matter. What matters is how I feel about you. And I feel that you're annoying and I just can't stand being around you. If that's the case, then why did you say yes to coming with us on this trip? Because it was a free trip to Spain. No one is going to turn down that opportunity. But as the days went by, I grew more and more tired of your antics. What antics, Tiana? What did I do that was so bad that you decided to leave me all alone in a foreign country? She was failing to answer, and I was growing more impatient with this impromptu disdain that was coming out of nowhere. I was shocked, hurt, confused, and angry, but most of all, I was just sad. I had to inquire about my beloved husband and what he had to say in all of this. Let me speak to Frank. Casually and easily, Tiana passed the phone on to Frank, who I can assume was listening in on the entire conversation. He sounds just as indifferent and cold as his mother. Hello? Really, Frank, you decided to leave me too? I didn't leave you because I don't like you. I left because my mom needed me to take her home. So you knew about all of this? Well, I mean, how long have you known about your mother's apparent hatred towards me? For some time now, I was hoping this trip would bring her closer to you, but I was wrong. Okay, but what I'm failing to understand is why none of you approached me about this. We're all adults, aren't we? Meaning if there's an issue, we solve it. It's not like we haven't had arguments in the past, no. We sat down and we solved these arguments. What's different about this time? Frank was failing to answer, just like his mother moments ago. The only thing I can safely conclude about this entire stupid debacle is that your mother hates me for a silly reason, which she knows isn't valid. Maybe she's jealous of me or something. Maybe I have something that she can't have. And she knows that she can't speak up about it without sounding foolish. So she's beating around the bush as to what exactly the problem is. Am I correct in assuming that? I took their resounding silence as a big fat yes. Well, I can say that I'm honestly shocked. I didn't know that you two felt this way about me. I hope you have a safe flight back home. I cut the call. Pacing around the hotel room, still trying to wrap my head around what exactly the issue was, I began to sob, wondering if what I did to deserve this treatment. But 37 years on this planet has taught me that sometimes people will hate on you for seemingly no good reason. They're jealous or bitter because they see you at peace with yourself, and that makes them enraged because they are struggling with their self-worth. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's experienced this, but if I'm being honest, the last people I expected this behavior from were my own family. After sobbing for some time, I had an epiphany. Let me take you back to that fateful moment when I decided to take control of my destiny and seek vengeance against these two who had wronged me for no good reason. It was a pivotal moment that would forever change the course of my life. As I wiped away my tears, a newfound determination welled up within me. I refused to waste any more of my precious emotions on their pathetic actions. No, it was time to show them that they could not trample over my heart and get away with it. With my trembling fingers, I dialed the number of my childhood friend, Arlo. We had been through thick and thin together, and I knew I could trust him with my darkest secrets. After pouring out my heart to him and explaining the painful betrayal I had experienced in Spain, I cautiously asked if he could assist me in my quest for justice. Arlo, always the loyal and mischievous friend, listened intently, his voice filled with a mix of concern and excitement, reassuring me that he had my back. Felicity, my dear friend, you're a force to be reckoned with. And you know you can count on me for anything and everything, so what are you planning on doing? Well, Arlo, you know how your construction company always has excess sawdust? Yes, it can be quite a hassle to get rid of sometimes. Well, I think I finally have the perfect use for it. His curiosity was piqued, and my plan tumbled out like a carefully created script, describing how we would orchestrate the ultimate act of retaliation. My plan involved delivering bags of sawdust to Tiana's house, infiltrating every corner and crevice, and leaving an indelible mark of chaos and betrayal. Arlo couldn't help but smile at the brilliance of my idea. It was a subtle yet impactful way to remind Tiana of the stress she had just now unleashed upon my life. Armed with Arlo's expertise and my newfound determination, we set our plan into motion. But how will we get inside the house before they arrive back home? You need to get the spare key hidden under the potted plant that's on the patio. Then you'll be in. Wow, you thought of everything, huh? I'm not the one to be played with. I think I'm a reasonable woman, but if they want to go lower and act childish, then I'll go even lower. Atta girl. As the hours ticked by, anticipation swirled within me. Arlo had assured me that the mission was complete, and soon I would waitress the fallout of our carefully orchestrated chaos. And then, like a sweet melody in my ear, my phone chimed, indicating a message from Arlo. I eagerly opened the pictures he had sent, and there it was, a sight to behold. Tiana's once pristine home now resembled a post-apocalyptic wasteland, drowned in a sea of sawdust. Every nook and cranny had been touched by our mischievous hands. It was a scene straight out of a surrealistic painting, an embodiment of the chaos that had unfolded in our lives. I called Arlo and his laughter echoed through the phone, and I couldn't help but join in. It was a cathartic release, a shared moment of triumph against those who had betrayed me. I expressed my heartfelt gratitude to Arlo, acknowledging his willingness to tread the path of mischief with me. He simply said, "Naughty can be so satisfying, my friend." As the clock ticked away, I could feel the tension building within me. How would Frank and Tiana react when they walked through the doors of their once beloved home? The anticipation was almost unbearable. A heady mix of nevers and vindication, I couldn't help but relish in the thought of their bewildered faces and disarrayed emotions. Hours later, my phone erupted with frantic energy. It was Frank, his voice laced with panic and disbelief. He described the scene that awaited them, the sawdust-covered house that stood as a testament to their betrayal. My heart danced with wicked delight as I listened to his exasperated voice. At that moment, I knew that the message had been received loud and clear. Their actions had consequences, and the chaos they had sown had come back to haunt them. Frank's panicked words were like sweet music to my ears, a validation of the power I had reclaimed. "Oh, Felicity, it's just awful. Mom is in hysterics." I decided to reveal the part that I had played in this and said, "It serves both of you right. How could you leave me here alone? Without a valid reason, no less." "Wait, Felicity, was this your doing?" The wailing and panic I heard in the background stopped, and instead, I approached Frank's phone. I heard my mother-in-law say, "Give me that," before shouting in my ear, "You do this? How could you do this to us? To me?" "I have no idea what you're talking about. Have you considered that this is just your karma?" "Oh, come on, Felicity. We all know it was you. Who else would have access to my home? It's very easy to break in and enter someone's home nowadays. Tiana, especially if you don't have any security cameras installed, which, by the way, should seriously consider doing to prevent things like this from happening again. Honestly, Felicity, how can you do this to us? Where are we supposed to sleep? This sawdust is making my lungs ache. Oh, that's right. You probably forgot to get the keys to my nose house, huh? Well, that's a shame. I'm guessing you two are going to have to stay in yet another hotel. But for how long? Until I decide to come back from my vacation. I paid for 2 weeks after all, and who knows, I might feel greedy and decide to extend my stay. Frank then took the phone from Tiana, and she began to bawl once again, mourning her ruined furniture. Felicity, this was foul. How could you do this? I don't know why you're assuming that I had anything to do with this. How could I? I'm currently relaxing in the hotel jacuzzi. How could I have done this? I held back my laughter as the second of them were clearly confused as to what had happened. Even though they suspected I had something to do with it, which I obviously did. But they didn't have any solid proof, so I was basking in all the glory of knowing that they were frustrated, but they had nowhere to direct their anger. As I bid Frank farewell on the phone, a sense of contentment washed over me. I had taken control of my narrative, leaving them to grapple with the consequences of their actions. I know what I did was quite foul, and even quite dangerous considering how old Tiana is. Spending even a night in that house could lead to serious health consequences. But I knew that they wouldn't dare dream of staying there. It was too sabotaged to be habitable. They just had to rely on staying in a hotel for a little bit longer because I didn't want my money to go to waste. I stayed that extra week in Spain, enjoying the culture as I intended, whilst my husband and my mother-in-law were undoubtedly worried, trying to find a cleaning company that would take on such a daunting task. I didn't know how long it would take to get the house professionally cleaned, but I knew that in the meantime, my mother-in-law would have to stay with us in my home. And I know that she would just be irritated the whole time since she apparently can't stand my company. This should serve as a reminder to some of you all that some people need to learn the hard way. And if it just so happens that you can dish out your own justice, then by all means go ahead and do it and really give people something to be mad about. My name is Lauren and I'm 24 years old. Let me tell you about my roller coaster journey. I've had a rocky history with the foster care system. You see, my biological parents were deep into drugs, and their addiction consumed their lives. As a result, I was left in the hands of the state, bouncing from one foster home to another. To say I resented my parents would be an understatement. They abandoned me, neglected me, and shattered any chance of a normal childhood. I carried that anger and hurt deep within me for years. I didn't even attend my biological mother's funeral when she passed away, as I couldn't find it in me to say a final goodbye to the person who had brought me into such a chaotic world. But then, at the age of 10, a glimmer of hope shone through the darkness. I was adopted by Tia and Xavier, the most amazing parents a girl could ask for. They opened their hearts and their home to me, and I became a part of their loving family. They taught me the meaning of unconditional love, provided stability, and showed me that I was worthy of all the happiness in the world. I owe everything I am today to them, and my love for them knows no bounds. When I was 16, tragedy struck once again. My dear mom, Tia, passed away, leaving a void in our lives that seemed impossible to fill. But amidst the grief, something unexpected happened. My biological father, Glenn, resurfaced from the shadows and expressed a desire to turn his life around. It seemed he had finally hit rock bottom and found the strength to seek help and get clean. My dad, Xavier, approached me and asked if I wanted to see him. It was a daunting decision, but curiosity and a tiny spark of hope led me to say yes. We visited Glenn at the rehabilitation center and I cautiously observed his progress. To my surprise, he appeared genuinely committed to his recovery and building a better life. It was a glimmer of redemption that stirred conflicting emotions within me. Time passed and Glenn completed his 2-year stint in rehab. By the time I turned 18, we decided to give our relationship another chance. After all, he was my biological father, and part of me longed for a connection with him. We started rebuilding our bond, cautiously navigating through the unfamiliar territory of father and daughter. It wasn't easy, but I believed in the power of forgiveness and second chances. However, as I got to know Glenn better, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. There were moments when he seemed genuine, trying to make amends for the past, but there were also instances when his old demons resurfaced, threatening to pull him back into the dark abyss of addiction. I realized that my desire for a relationship with my biological father was clouded by my yearning for closure, for answers to the questions that haunted me throughout my life. But in the process, I discovered that closure doesn't always come in the form we expect. It doesn't erase the pain or fill the void left by years of neglect. Nonetheless, I tried fostering a positive relationship between us, but that turned out to be a mistake. As time went on, Glenn's true colors began to reveal themselves. Despite his initial efforts to change, he couldn't escape the clutches of his old ways. The addiction that had plagued him before resurfaced, consuming him once again. It was heartbreaking to witness his descent into ugliness and aggression. I tried to be understanding, to give him the benefit of the doubt, hoping that he would find his way back to the path of recovery, but the more I tried, the more he pushed me away with his toxic behavior. It was a painful realization, but I knew I had to protect myself from the negativity and toxicity that he brought into my life. When I turned 21, I made the difficult decision to cut him off completely. I no longer had space in my heart for the hatred and disappointment he had caused. I had to prioritize my well-being and surround myself with positive influences. It was a tough choice, but one that ultimately allowed me to find peace and move forward. Xavier, my adoptive dad, felt a deep sense of remorse for everything I had been through with Glenn. He blamed himself, believing he could have shielded me from the pain and disappointment, but I reassured him that it wasn't his fault. He had given me a stable and loving home, providing the foundation for me to grow and thrive. I made it clear that he was not responsible for the actions of my biological father. One evening, as we sat on the porch enjoying the gentle breeze, Xavier opened up about his feelings of guilt. Tears welled up in his eyes as he expressed his regret for not being able to protect me from the hardships I faced in my early years. I reached out and held his hand, assuring him that he had done more for me than he could ever imagine. Lauren, I can't help but feel so remorseful for introducing Glenn back into your life. I thought he had truly changed, but I was wrong. I'm sorry for the pain and disappointment he brought into your life. Dad, please don't blame yourself. You had no way of knowing how things would turn out. You gave me the opportunity to reconnect with him, and I appreciate that. It was Glenn who let me down, not you. You've always been there for me, supporting and loving me unconditionally. I just wanted you to have a chance to build a relationship with your biological father. I wanted you to experience the bond that I couldn't provide as an adoptive dad. But seeing how things unfolded, I feel responsible for the hurt it caused you. Dad, you've given me more than I could have ever asked for. You've shown me what it truly means to be a parent regardless of blood ties. You've been my rock, my guiding light. Please understand that Glenn's actions are his own. You couldn't have predicted or controlled his choices. You did everything you could to protect me and provide me with a loving home. I am grateful for that. Thank you, Lauren. Your words mean the world to me. I've always wanted the best for you, and it hurts me to see you go through such pain. We can't change the past, Dad. What's important now is that we support each other and focus on the love we share as a family. We've grown stronger together, and we'll continue to do so. Let's leave the past behind us and look toward the future with hope and joy. You're right, Lauren. We have each other, and that's what matters most. I'm so proud of the strong young woman you've become, and I'm grateful to have you as my daughter. We'll navigate this journey together, always supporting and loving each other. Absolutely, Dad. We're in this together, and no matter what challenges we face, we'll overcome them as a family. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Lauren, forever and always. I was so glad that we had this moment of clarity. This was yet another reason for me to believe that blood isn't thicker than water, and that the people who you call family are the ones who have conversations like this with you. Anyways, despite going through a lot of trauma in my childhood, it seemed as though my young adulthood had more promising outcomes as I met Rick. He made me feel so special, and I knew the moment I met him that he was the one for me. It looked like my life was finally turning around, and I was so ready to embrace the wonderful changes that were coming my way. Not too soon afterward, I was about to marry the love of my life, Rick. We had been together for 3 amazing years filled with love, laughter, and support. He had swept me off my feet, and I knew deep in my heart that he was the one for me. It was during our vacation in Spain that he got down on one knee and proposed, and without hesitation, I said yes. Everything seemed to be falling into place. I was overjoyed at the thought of starting a new chapter in my life, especially because Rick's family was so warm, accepting, and loving. They embraced me as if I had always been a part of their family. It was a stark contrast to the tumultuous relationship I had with Glenn. Rick's family offered a sense of stability and healthy family dynamic that I had always yearned for. But as the day of our wedding approached, I couldn't shake this nagging feeling that something was off. I tried to brush it off as pre-wedding jitters, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. I confided in Rick, and even in my dad, Xavier, expressing my concerns, but they assured me that it was just nerves playing tricks on me. As I stood in front of the mirror, getting ready to walk down the aisle, I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. I still couldn't ignore the sinking feeling in my gut. Something was wrong. Xavier found me and was ready to lead me down the aisle, but he stopped and said, "Wow, my little girl, all grown up." "Come on, Dad, don't tell me you're going to cry." "I can't help it. It seems like just yesterday I was helping you with your math homework, and now you're here, all grown up and ready to take on the world." "You're going to make me ruin my makeup, Dad." "Are you sure you still want to do this? Say the word and we're out of here." I got the car running. "Dad, you know I want to marry this man." "I know, sweetie. I know that she's proud of you. I know she's looking down at you, and she's beaming." I was so mad at him because I started to cry. And true to what I said before, he made me ruin my makeup. I did my best to fix it, but we were laughing about it the entire time, effectively delaying the program. We made our way outside, and after fist bumping, my dad swung open the grand old church doors to reveal me, in my wedding dress, about to walk down the aisle. As I took a step forward, I heard something. The shrill and drunken voice of a man I once knew. Instantly, my hair stood on end, and my father's paled expression was all the confirmation I needed. "Oh, Lauren!" The wedding guests all halted and tried to peer behind me to see what was happening. And like a bad omen, Glenn was creeping forward, demanding to be witnessed by all. I turned around to face him, my heart pounding in my chest, and there he was. Glenn, my biological father, stood there with an unsettling grin on his face. How did he even find out about my wedding? The sight of him filled me with a mix of anger, fear, and disappointment. I had cut him off completely, and now he dared to show up uninvited, potentially ruining one of the most important days of my life. I knew this was too good to be true. My mind raced, contemplating what to do next. Should I confront him? Should I ignore him and focus on the happiness that awaited me just a few steps away? I looked at Rick, who was at the altar, searching for reassurance, and he sent me a sympathetic glance, implying that he didn't know what to do, but that he got my back, no matter what. I then turned to Xavier, who squeezed my hand gently, his eyes filled with understanding. At that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. Rick and Xavier would support me no matter what decision I made. Taking a deep breath, I made a choice. I refused to let Glenn's presence overshadow the joy and love that surrounded me. I would not allow him to taint this special day. With determination in my eyes, I straightened my veil, held my head high, and locked eyes with Xavier. Together, we would face whatever challenges came our way because we were a family, a strong and loving family that had overcome so much. I began walking down the aisle, and the church music awkwardly started up again after stopping. Glenn apparently couldn't take the hint, and he emerged from the shadows, and in full view, he said, "Oh, my baby, why aren't you paying attention to me? Why did you leave me?" To say I was mortified would be an understatement. How could he do something like that so publicly? Up ahead, I saw Rick preparing to make his way down the aisle to perhaps teach my father a lesson, but I sent him a look that told him to stay put. I didn't need this escalating further. Xavier had already turned around to face the beast that threatened to ruin my special day, and as I glanced around the congregation, I could see people whispering and murmuring about how this was all so unprofessional and lowbrow. My blood started to boil. I felt so heated. I turned around and said, "Just what the heck do you think you're doing?" "Baby girl, what do you mean?" "I mean that you're crazy. How dare you come to my wedding and crash it like this, uninvited, and most importantly, unwanted." I couldn't believe my eyes. There he was, stumbling towards me, sloppily drunk and making a complete fool of himself. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd as Glenn crashed my wedding. People stared at him, their judgmental eyes boring into his disheveled appearance. I stepped back, instinctively avoiding his outstretched hand as he clumsily tried to grab onto my dress. The room fell silent except for Glenn's unsteady footsteps and the collective whispers of disbelief. It was clear that he had already caused enough embarrassment for himself. Xavier's voice cut through the tension, filled with anger and frustration. "How dare you come here and ruin this special day with your selfishness?" Glenn, swaying unsteadily, responded with a slurred retort. "It's my right as a father to walk my baby girl down the aisle. How could you not tell me you were getting married?" Anger surged through me as I shouted back, unable to contain my pent-up emotions any longer. "You don't get to claim that right after everything you've done. You abandoned me, treated me horribly, and subjected me to your constant shouting for no reason." Glenn attempted to silence me. His eyes filled with desperation, he harshly whispered so that the crowd couldn't hear. "Don't mention anything about my past. I'm here to do better. These people don't need to know anything." "Trust me, buddy. Everyone here can tell that you're drunk." "You think I'm embarrassing you by exposing the truth?" "Yes." "Oh, you'll feel embarrassed, all right. Everyone deserves to know the kind of man you truly are." I laid bare all the painful memories, exposing him to the drug abuse, the abandonment, and the emotional abuse I had endured due to his insolence. The crowd, once filled with curiosity and shock, now brimmed with anger and disgust towards Glenn. They witnessed the extent of his toxic behavior and the impact it had on my life. Amidst it all, I caught a glimpse of Rick standing on the sidelines, his eyes filled with unwavering support and admiration. He cheered me on silently, his love and belief in me shining through. At that moment, surrounded by the emotions swirling around me, I realized that I had made the right decision to expose my biological dad in front of everyone. I turned to him to find himself shaking with a mixture of anger and fear. That's not true, Erin. Erin? That's your name, isn't it? How pathetic. You can't even remember your daughter's name. Whatever. I demand that you let me walk you down the aisle. Right this instant. I'm your father. No, you're not. What? You heard me. You're not my father. We might share the same DNA, but trust me, you are the last person I would refer to as a father figure. Xavier is my real father, and I'm going to shout it from the rooftops for everyone to hear because he's been the one who was taking care of me all these years. He's protected and guided me while you were out doing drugs and being reckless. So no, you will not walk me down the aisle. I'm going to have my real father do it. Glenn couldn't seem to understand that I didn't want him. He really thought that he could just waltz his way in here and treat me so horrendously, but he was wrong. I had done a lot of growth since the last time I met him, and although he was used to me taking him back, giving him chance after chance to do better, this time was different. Glenn looked at Xavier with hatred, and eventually his eyes wandered around the crowd, meeting people's looks of disgust with his feelings of embarrassment. He certainly wasn't expecting me to air out his dirty laundry like that, but I did. And I'm glad I did it because I have nothing to be ashamed for. He was the one who abandoned me and abused me, not the other way around. And if he had the gall to make demands to me on my wedding day, then surely he would have the gall to be exposed. But clearly that wasn't the case. Glenn's embarrassment was palpable as the truth still hung heavy in the air. The crowd's disapproval intensified, their scorn pushing him further into isolation and fear. The security guards finally arriving at the scene swiftly escorted Glenn out of the venue, away from the prying eyes of the guests. The cheers and applause that had accompanied my walk down the aisle now echoed through the room, mingling with the sounds of sobbing from those who had been moved by my painful past. I smiled up at Xavier, gratitude filling my heart as he led me towards my future. The warmth of his hand in mine reassured me that I had made the right choice, sticking by my father, who took care of me instead of the father who was related to me. The ceremony proceeded as planned, filled with love and support from our friends and family, despite the debacle that threatened to ruin everything moments prior. But the aftermath of Glenn's actions didn't end there. News quickly spread about his attempt to ruin my wedding, and the community turned against him. Glenn became a social outcast, ostracized for his selfishness and the pain he had caused. It weighed heavily on him, pushing him further into his destructive tendencies. In his shame, he went on a drug bender and disappeared from our lives. So as for Glenn, his actions had consequences. The revelation of his attempt to disrupt our wedding tarnished his reputation. The guilt and shame overwhelmed him and he vanished, leaving behind a void of unanswered questions. His absence only confirmed that I had made the right decision in choosing to be with someone who genuinely loved and supported me. In the midst of it all, I found solace and happiness with Xavier by my side. Our bond grew stronger, and he continued to be the loving and supporting father figure I had always cherished. I was grateful that Glenn was finally out of my life for good, allowing me to embrace the love and stability that Xavier had provided throughout my journey. Rick and I embarked on a new chapter together, building a life filled with love, understanding, and healing. We cherished every moment, grateful for the strength we had gained from overcoming our past. Glenn's absence served as a reminder of the toxic cycle we had broken free from, allowing us to appreciate the peace and happiness we had found. And so, with Glenn's presence serving as a distant memory, I focused on nurturing my relationships, living a life filled with joy and remaining forever grateful for the love and support that surrounded me. Hey there, I'm Mei Ling and I'm 29 years old. Anyone who grew up Asian American will tell you that it's no walk in the park. Being Chinese American, I've been subjected to a few unsavory encounters in my life. Needless to say, I've gotten used to being discriminated against as well as learning to fight for my dignity. I had learned to navigate through life with resilience. I had to, lest I be subject to more cruelty from people around me. Unfortunately, though, it appeared as though my father-in-law was oblivious to the extent of American ignorance and stupidity. Let me give you some context on my family situation. My husband, Mateo, and I come from different cultural backgrounds. He is Dominican, and as I already mentioned, I'm Chinese American. Our diverse heritage has always fascinated me, and we've cherished the opportunity to embrace and learn about each other's traditions. However, recently a new dynamic entered our family: Hiroshi, Mateo's stepfather and my new father-in-law. Hiroshi added an interesting layer to our family dynamic as he too shared East Asian roots like me. It was an exciting prospect to have someone who could understand and appreciate my cultural background. But unfortunately, something changed when Hiroshi entered our lives. Both Mateo and my mother-in-law, Sophia, started speaking in Spanish more frequently, particularly when Hiroshi was around. At first, I didn't pay any mind to it, seeing as though Spanish is their mother tongue. Additionally, they wouldn't be talking about anything bad or offhand. I knew this because I too speak Spanish. You see, I wanted to learn Spanish as a little surprise gift from my husband. His love language is acts of service, and so I thought that he would appreciate me learning his language so that we could be better connected. I'll admit, I kept his secret from them longer than what was originally intended, but that's because my fears and anxieties prevented me from exposing the truth, that I could hear what they were talking about. I still believed that my Spanish wasn't good enough, and so I kept this secret to myself despite gaining fluency more and more. I didn't contribute or speak up, preventing any arising embarrassment that might come about if I failed or mispronounced something. Perhaps my anxiety was a blessing in disguise because once Hiroshi came around, as I mentioned before, Sophia and Mateo would speak Spanish more often. Well, if there was a time for me to not be speaking Spanish, it was certainly during those moments. I mean, could you imagine joining a family with such differing cultures and being excluded by all three of us? Out of respect for Hiroshi and East Asian solidarity, I decided to remain in my oblivious state, talking to him in English because at least we could both understand each other. Although I found the increased Spanish a bit odd, all things considered, I brushed it aside. That was until I started hearing some insults being thrown in Spanish that I got whiplash from. I still remember that day like it was yesterday. The table was set. The aroma of mouth-watering dishes filled the air, and we were all conversing, preparing to start dishing out the food for one another. But destiny had other plans. As I reached for the gravy boat, my hand slipped, and the gravy spilled like a river of regret. Well, you can imagine the chaos that ensued. Sophia, my dear mother-in-law, unleashed a string of expletives in Spanish. I mean, I don't need to be fluent in Spanish to know when someone's hurling insults my way. It stung. But my knight in shining armor, Mateo, came to my rescue. He defended me, telling his mother that such remarks are uncalled for. And then Sophia dropped a bomb and shattered my heart, and she said, "Why are you defending her? It's not like she can hear us anyways." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Ironically enough, it stung worse than the expletives she used before. The embarrassment surged through me and I choked on my water, surprised that she had said that. It sounded so cold and so sinister, like she was used to speaking so freely about me in her language. As I gasped for air, Hiroshi embraced me with understanding and compassion. He reminded me that we all make mistakes, that accidents can happen, and that there was more gravy in the pot. Little did he know it wasn't the spilled gravy that had taken my breath away. It was the hurtful words uttered by Sophia, questioning my self-worth. I couldn't shake off the doubt that crept into my mind. Did I mishear her? Was I losing my grip on reality? I refused to believe that my own mother-in-law, someone who should have been a source of love and support, would speak about me in such a demeaning way. After dinner, haunted by Sophia's words, I sought confirmation. I turned to a Spanish-speaking friend and even resorted to trusty Google Translate. And wouldn't you know it, my worst fears were confirmed. Sophia had indeed been intentionally rude and disrespectful. I couldn't wrap my head around this newfound callousness. Why would Sophia harbor such disdain towards me? The questions swirled in my mind, but for the time being, I chose to keep my discoveries to myself. I decided to bide my time observing the dynamics within our multicultural family and waiting for the right moment to address this issue head on. The next morning, as we gathered around the breakfast table, there was an uncomfortable silence hanging in the air. I sat quietly, my thoughts racing, while the rest of the family engaged in their usual banter. Sophia and Mateo, like clockwork, began conversing in Spanish, as was their custom. Little did they know their words held more weight than they realized. Suddenly, Sophia dropped a bombshell. "I regret marrying this old stupid man," she uttered, completely unaware of my understanding of her words. My ears perked up and my heart sank. Once again, Sophia had let her true feelings slip, tarnishing the harmony of our eating rituals. Meanwhile, Hiroshi, the oblivious soul, chuckled and commented, "Wow, I should start learning Spanish so that I can hear what you two keep talking about." If only he knew the painful truth hidden beneath their laughter as they chuckled along with him. Sophia and Mateo dismissed it as innocent teasing, pretending that they weren't engaging in hurtful gossip right in front of Hiroshi's face. But the gossiping didn't stop there. Oh no, it continued with relentless fervor. Mateo and Sophia took turns mocking Hiroshi, each remark cutting deeper than the last. Examples? Let me paint the picture for you. They made fun of his accent, imitating his attempts to pronounce certain words. They poked fun at his cultural traditions, dismissing them as odd or unnecessary. And worst of all, they belittled his age, making jokes about him being past his prime. All the while I sat there, my discomfort growing by the second. It was as if I was witnessing a cruel game, where Hiroshi was the unwitting target of their scorn. My heart ached for him, for the pain he unknowingly endured at the hands of his own family. This was not the love and acceptance I had hoped for when our cultures merged. At that moment, I made a silent vow to myself. I would no longer stand idly by while this toxicity poisoned our family's bonds. Sophia might have gotten away with talking so foully about me, but I wouldn't let her drag this innocent old man into the mix. I knew that I had to confront the elephant in the room to address the underlying tensions that had plagued us for far too long. I would find a way to open their eyes, to make them realize the beauty of our multicultural family and the need for respect and compassion. As the days turned into weeks, I became more determined than ever to expose Mateo and Sophia's hurtful behavior towards Hiroshi. Armed with my trusty phone, I embarked on a mission to capture their demeaning conversations and reveal their true colors to the world. During every meal, I discreetly recorded their interactions, ensuring that their words would serve as undeniable evidence of their cruelty. With each passing day, The insults grew more vicious, and Hiroshi began to withdraw, noticing that something was certainly amiss for both he and I to constantly be excluded like this. His once vibrant spirit dimmed in the face of exclusion. I tried my best to steer the conversations towards topics we could all enjoy in English, hoping to create an inclusive atmosphere. But inevitably, Mateo and Sophia would revert to Spanish, drowning out any attempt to foster unity. Their gossiping and insults directed at Hiroshi poisoned the air, suffocating the joy that mealtime should have brought. When I would revisit those covert recordings, reconfirming what I had originally translated, I pieced together a heartbreaking truth. It appeared that Sophia had married Hiroshi solely for his wealth, lamenting the fact that she would have to wait until his passing to inherit his fortune. The depth of her greed shocked me. Meanwhile, Mateo, my husband, not only participated in these insults, but found amusement in his mother's despicable intentions. The weight of this knowledge pressed heavily on my heart. How could I have been so blind to their true nature? The very people I had expected to embrace and celebrate our unique family dynamic had betrayed that trust. It was clear that I had to take a stand, not only for Hiroshi's sake, but for the integrity and love our family deserved. In the silence of the night, I listened to those recorded conversations again and again, fueling my determination to confront Mateo and Sophia with the undeniable proof of their disdain. I knew it would be a difficult path to tread, fraught with tension and confrontation, but I couldn't let them continue their hurtful ways unchecked. As I lay awake formulating my plan, I vowed to myself that I would not allow their toxicity to poison our lives any longer. Hiroshi deserved better, and so did our family. With my heart set on change, I prepared to bring their hurtful actions to light, ready to challenge Mateo and Sophia's hurtful behavior head on. It was time for them to face the consequences of their actions, and for our family to embark on a journey towards healing and understanding. But I decided one major thing before confronting them. I thought that Hiroshi needed to hear about my discoveries first. He deserved to know the truth. I mustered up the courage to approach Hiroshi, sensing the heaviness that weighed upon his heart. With a sympathetic smile, I said, "Hey Hiroshi, how are you doing?" He let out a sigh and looked into my eyes, his vulnerability shining through. "Mei Ling, it's been difficult to be honest. I'm struggling to assimilate into this new family dynamic. The constant use of Spanish excludes me and I feel like an outsider. Maybe I should start those Spanish classes after all." I nodded in understanding, my heart aching for him. "I completely get it, Hiroshi. It's been weighing on me too, but I have something important to share with you." He looked intrigued, a spark of curiosity in his eyes. "What is it, Mei Ling?" Taking a deep breath, I revealed the secret I had been carrying. "Hiroshi, I understand Spanish. I've been able to follow every conversation that Mateo and Sophia have had. They didn't know because I never joined in on the Spanish conversations. I kept it a secret because I felt anxious and embarrassed about my pronunciation and grasp of the language. But I do understand them completely." Hiroshi's eyes widened in surprise. "Why didn't you ever let them know? I'm sure they would have helped you with the pronunciation and stuff." I smiled ruefully. "Well, Hiroshi, you're probably right. Like I said, I was anxious and embarrassed, and it was meant to be a surprise for Mateo after I'd learned enough of the language to have meaningful dialogue. But then I kept putting it off, thinking perhaps he wouldn't be impressed. Regardless, perhaps me not telling them was a blessing in disguise." "What do you mean?" "By keeping this secret, I was able to listen in on their conversations. And what I heard was hurtful and disrespectful. They've been ganging up on you, insulting you behind your back, They thought the language barrier protected them, but now they'll have to face the consequences. Confusion mixed with concern as Hiroshi tried to process my revelation. What do you mean? What have they been saying about me? Taking his hands in mine, I spoke with conviction. Hiroshi, they've been mocking you, making fun of you, and even speaking ill of you. It's been going on for weeks, and it's absolutely awful that they can speak so openly about you under the guise of a language barrier. His eyes filled with a mix of surprise, hurt, and gratitude. I don't know what to say. Thank you for telling me the truth. I never imagined they would be capable of such behavior. What exactly have they been saying? I braced myself, knowing that the truth would completely shatter him. Hiroshi, I understand that this might be hard to believe, but it's the truth, and I have to tell you what I know. Sophia married you for your money, and both she and Matteo are eagerly waiting for your passing so they can inherit your fortune. As the weight of my words sank in, Hiroshi's initial disbelief turned into a mixture of shock and confusion. Hiroshi's eyes widened in disbelief. I reached out gently, placing a hand on his shoulder, but he moved away. No, Mei Ling, you must be mistaken. Sophia loves me, and Matteo loves me too. They wouldn't do that. Are you sure you're being honest with me? Maybe it's you who's trying to cheat me. With determination in my voice, I assured him. Hiroshi, I wouldn't bring this up if I didn't have concrete evidence. I recorded their conversations, and you can hear it for yourself. Check with any Spanish-speaking person you know to confirm what they're saying. At that moment, I airdropped the recordings to Hiroshi's phone, allowing him to uncover the truth for himself. Listen to these conversations, Hiroshi, and then you'll see the reality of the situation. Days passed, and there was a palpable tension in the air between Hiroshi, Sophia, and Matteo. I kept my distance, allowing Hiroshi the space to process the shocking revelations. Then, one day, Hiroshi pulled me aside, his expressions filled with a mix of resignation and gratitude. I owe you an apology. I doubted you, and I let my love for Sophia blind me. But after consulting with some of my Spanish-speaking friends and listening to those recordings, I finally believe you. I can't believe they would stoop so low, saying all those awful things about me. What did I ever do to them? I know, Hiroshi, it was a lot to take in, and I'm so sorry, but I thought you needed to hear the truth. I've decided to get an annulment. What? You heard me. We haven't been married for that long, so an annulment is still viable. You see me, May. I'm old. I can't afford to waste any more time with people who don't have my best interests at heart. I just can't believe that you'll be leaving so soon. Leaving is the most logical thing to do. I advise that you do the same. This is the last time I'll sleep in this house. Tomorrow I'll leave, and I won't reach out to Sophia and Matteo until I'm ready to start processing the annulment. But in the meantime, I think I might need a vacation. I understand, Hiroshi. You deserve a life full of genuine love and peace, and I guess I do too. And with that, Hiroshi and I exchanged a hug, and we both went on our way. The next day, as was promised, there was no sign of Hiroshi. He'd packed up a bag and just left, leaving Sophia and Matteo confused, but also giving them free rein to continue disparaging the poor man's name. I could hear them as I was putting away the dishes, and they were in the living room nearby. With each insult, I grew more furious, wondering why they were being so cruel to Hiroshi, and then I snapped. With a newfound sense of empowerment, I mustered the courage to confront Sophia and Matteo about their hurtful gossiping and deceit. I couldn't let their actions go unaddressed any longer. Enough is enough. I know exactly what you've been saying about Hiroshi behind his back, in your secret Spanish conversations. Sophia's face turned pale. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Mateo, on the other hand, tried to maintain a facade of innocence. You have no idea what you're talking about. At that moment, I switched gears, revealing a side of me that they had never seen before. Speaking in fluent Spanish, I confronted them head on. Do not underestimate me. I've understood everything you two have been saying for the past 3 weeks. You've been insulting and disparaging Hiroshi ever since he came into our lives. Sophia and Mateo's faces flushed with embarrassment. Their gazes shifted away from mine. They were caught and exposed in their web of deceit. Mateo finally broke the uncomfortable silence, his voice tinged with a mix of curiosity, regret, and even hurt. Why didn't you tell me that you could speak Spanish? You're really good. A bitter smile formed on my lips as I replied. I was embarrassed by my imperfect Spanish, but now I realized that my hidden knowledge allowed me to discover the truth about your true colors, about the malicious intentions you've harbored towards Hiroshi. Their eyes widened, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the situation. Sophia's voice trembled as she desperately asked, What do you mean, Mei Ling? Taking a deep breath, I revealed the truth piece by piece. I've informed Hiroshi about everything. He's currently enjoying a well-deserved vacation far away from the toxicity of this household. And, thanks to his newfound clarity, he has decided to pursue an annulment. So you're not going to get the money. Confusion and panic filled the room as Sophia and Mateo grappled with the consequences of their actions. The realization that their pursuit of Hiroshi's fortune had been in vain left them stunned. You see, Sophia and Mateo, greed and manipulation may have temporarily clouded your judgment, but ultimately the truth prevailed. Hiroshi's fortune will never belong to you. His love and trust were shattered by your betrayal. As the weight of their actions settled upon them, Sophia and Mateo were left to face the consequences of their greed and deceit. The illusion they had woven around Hiroshi had crumbled, and their hopes of an easy fortune had evaporated. At that moment, I stood tall, knowing that I had spoken up for what was right, even at the risk of disrupting the fragile harmony of our family. Unfortunately, the damage had already been done, and the tension continued to simmer between Mateo, Sophia, and me. I knew that I couldn't stay in such a toxic environment any longer. The realization of their cruel intentions towards Hiroshi made me question what they might have said about me behind closed doors. It was clear that their true colors had been revealed, and I couldn't ignore the underlying toxicity of our relationship any longer. In secret, I began planning my exit strategy. I reached out to Hiroshi, seeking guidance and support. His kind-hearted nature and understanding provided me with the encouragement I needed to take this important step. He even offered some financial assistance to help me stand on my own 2 feet, knowing that I deserved better than the toxic atmosphere that had surrounded us. Days turned into weeks as I waited for the perfect moment to reveal my decision. The tension in the house remained palpable, with Mateo and Sophia carrying the weight of their failed plan on their shoulders. They knew they were wrong, but their anger and resentment masked any remorse they may have felt. Meanwhile, I focused on my preparations, gathering the strength and determination to make a clean break. The moment finally arrived when everything aligned. With my bags packed and my mind set on a brighter future, I confronted Mateo and Sophia. I calmly explained that their actions and words had shattered the trust and love we once shared. It was clear that staying in this toxic environment would only do more harm than good. Their faces contorted with a mix of anger and regret as they realized the consequences of their actions. At that moment, I revealed my plans to leave. I stood tall, asserting my worth and declaring my independence. Their attempts to plead and convince me otherwise fell on deaf ears. I had made up my mind and nothing could change it. With a final goodbye, I walked away from the toxicity that had plagued our lives, stepping into a new chapter of my own. As I embarked on this journey towards self-discovery and freedom, I carried the lessons learned from this experience with me. No longer would I allow myself to be confined by the expectations and judgments of others. I had found my voice, and I would use it to shape my destiny, leaving behind the negativity that had once consumed me. It was time to embrace my strength and forge a path that was true to who I am.